click that next button. Don't even think about clicking on a different podcast, because that is Effin' Weird is here to bring you a wealth of knowledge today.
If consciousness exists beyond the body, is meditation a way of tuning into something greater, or simply remembering what we've always been? When people across cultures report similar spiritual experiences, are they touching the same source through different languages? And if a higher intelligence is guiding us, how much of our life is truly choice, and how much is remembering a path already laid out? Hello and welcome back to That Is Effin' Weird. I am Stevenson Longbotom, and you read the title of the show, so you know why you're here. Our guest today, Dan, is here to tell us a little bit about what he does. He practices a thing called yoga, and it's not the kind that you're thinking of. He's been practicing this since it's been 2019, and he has a YouTube channel and also a Facebook channel called Become Findable. And he is the reason why we're here today. Dan, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you, Stevenson. I really appreciate you having me.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you wanted to come onto the show and what we're going to talk about today, I guess.
It goes back to, like you said, in 2019, I started this spiritual journey. It just kind of happened on accident. I got into a business that had a culture where self-improvement was kind of like part of it. So it just kind of like started there and then turned into something way more than I could have possibly expected.
When you say that, what exactly do you mean?
Well, I started down a path of yoga, and at first I didn't really realize, where it was going to go, but it ended up in a really amazing place. Like, I was at the feet of God, so it just happened.
That was something that drew me, because we did interact over Reddit, and that was something that drew me to your post, was that you had said something about actually communicating with God or being able to do that, correct?
Well, it's kind of like that, but kind of not. What happened was, through the path of yoga, a lot of people think that, yoga is like bendy, stretchy stuff, like I said before.
Yep.
And it's not. So what it really is that it's a way to use yourself to clear out the stuff of lifetimes of karma and stuff that you do in this life, and then also through, like, I use a specific kind of technique. It's chanting, and I use Om and Om Namah Shivaya. I have specific ones I link to in some of my Reddit posts, but basically through chanting and the meditation process, it opens up your body to your soul. That's what it did. It opened up my body to my soul. Another part of this is the spiritual teachings. Listening to Swami Sarvapriyananda and Vedanta, it talks a lot about, basically all he talks about is consciousness, and that we are that one consciousness. And so over time of meditating, I'm going to call it meditating, but chanting, over time of chanting, so like I'll chant an hour a day, and then I would listen to spiritual teachings for an hour a day. I would at times listen to more. Like, there was a period where my need for the information grew, so I just needed more and more and more. So sometimes I was spending 3-4 hours a day listening to Swami, and like at some point it just clicked. Like, what he was saying, it didn't just click. It was like it became a physical experience. It wasn't just like, oh, I get it. It was more like something happened to me, and it lasted for like 3 days. People call it enlightenment or whatever. I don't want to say I'm enlightened. I just want to say that something happened, like something really happened. And through that experience, because we're all this one consciousness, like I just saw it, like I felt like I knew it. And when I realized that over the next few months, a year, like that's what really brought me to the main experience with God. Like, how all of it happened is because I realized that's how she's hearing everyone. That's how she hears prayers. That's how she knows if an animal's sick. That's how she knows everything through that one consciousness, because everything is within that one consciousness.
Well, all right, I'm gonna have to pause you right there, because
Okay.
I feel like there's a lot of questions that I have that And I think some of the
Okay.
audience members too. I think you're throwing a lot of things out there that, again, I'm so unfamiliar with this, so I'm really eager to like know more. You talked about yoga at the very beginning, and it's not exactly what everyone is thinking about. So what exactly is yoga, I guess, in your own words?
Well, in the Eastern traditions, there's more than one yoga, and I'm most familiar with the most common yogas, and those are the four yogas of Jnana, Raja, Karma, and Bhakti yoga. And it fell on me accidentally how they all work together. And this is thousands of year old practice. I'm not inventing anything new. I haven't done anything new. All I've done is taken an old technology like riding a bike. I put it to use. I practiced on it a lot. And then the miracle happened on its own. I didn't really do anything special. I'm not a special person. I'm not like some monk in the Himalayas. I just took the technology and I did the work and the magic happened. And so the yogas go like this. So Bhakti is a yoga about loving God. And Jnana is the knowledge, like the Swami's teachings. And Karma Yoga is like the action of doing. Karma Yoga is a difficult one to explain. It's the action, but if you want to know more, you could look it up.
Okay.
But and then Raja is kind of like where the chants and stuff kind of work, and it's another one that's a little bit blurry because in the Eastern traditions, different people practice it different ways. So like in India especially, they have so many different gods and so many different versions of yoga. This is like the really important thing that I realized about my journey is that the yogas, all four of them together, was the important part. And in India, they're all broken up. A lot of people would just focus specifically on Raja or specifically on Bhakti. And what I notice is that all people are different. So I kind of feel like that's why the four yogas were created in the way they were, was because since people are different, they can reach the same enlightenment through that one practice of maybe Bhakti, but then having them all together in the same available spectrum, that's what made it work for me. It was having them all available. I wasn't just stuck on one. I used them all.
Now, would you say that's very common, or would you say that's not very common for, I guess, people to practice more than one of these yogas?
Well, Swami Sarvapriyananda, they do kind of like talk about the other yogas, and they are integrated into the teachings that he teaches, but it's more of a jnana. They're all schools, they're traditional, they're like, I feel like they've kind of lost sight. This is my own opinion. I feel like they've kind of lost sight of the fact that the four yogas need to work in harmony, like together, for the real big thing to happen. Like it was all of it together that made it work for me.
Now, I guess you're saying that you practiced all four of them for all of this to kind of come together, and you also stated that like the way that everyone practices these is a little bit different. Most people think of like just the stretching, thinking, just being quiet, they're centering themselves. Is that how they all are, or is something like practicing a yoga, could it be like reading, or could it be like going for a walk, or chanting like you had said? Is it just different for everybody? There's like no way to properly do it, there's like no manual, I guess. How do you do that?
You've asked a lot of good questions there. In the traditions, you would go to a guru or a master, and they would teach you how to sit. They would teach you how to, in their tradition, there's lots of different traditions, and they would teach you in that tradition how they would do it. They would either give you a mantra, they would give you one that you would say in your mind, they would give you one that you would say out loud. There's a lot of different traditions, especially in the Indian traditions, and like this goes for Buddhism, Hinduism, Shaivism. There's a lot of Eastern religions that all are very similar to what we're talking about right now, but they're all their own school, and they don't really work well together. I can't understand why they've lost sight of working well together, because after my experience, I realized that was the key, was all working together. And so what I was saying was the question you asked, Raja is the chanting, right? So what you want to do is you want to sit in like a an upright position. I sit cross-legged on like just a comfortable carpet. And then this is really important. I have created a space in my house, like a little altar, just kind of like where I'll light incense, and a singing bowl where I ring that before I start, and then like a little statue of Mary, not because of it being Mary, but because it's a representation of God. So before I get started, before I do anything, I'll always have kind of like a little ceremony. I'll light an incense, I'll ring the bell, I'll pray. I never ask for anything. I'll always just say thank you, just thank you, God. And then I'll sit down in a cross-legged position and I'll chant. I use 2 different ones, like I said. So whichever one I'm feeling at the moment, I'll put on and I'll chant it for usually about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And then I also do a little bit of breath work. Before I start, I'll cover my left nostril, breathe in, breathe out, my right nostril, breathe in, breathe out, and do that 3 times before I start. And then sometimes I don't always do it, but I use the Wim Hof method of breathing, which is like a good way to activate your breathing. But basically that's it. I mean, it's not really that complicated. I've just kind of gained these techniques over time of what feels right to me. And that's what I want to stress for people is like the chant, pick the one that feels right for you. I stress a chant because what it does is your voice causes vibrations in your spine. And those vibrations activate your chakras. And over time of doing that, it clears out the energy pathways in your chakras and will activate you completely. And this is not something that happens in a minute. And I think that people really need to realize this took me 6 years for this to happen, but it was daily. I just kept doing it, kept doing it. And then also the chanting is one yoga, right? That's one yoga. And then listening to Swami Sarvapriyananda every day for an hour, that's also another of meditation. It's another yoga. It's bhakti. So listening to the information, just repeatedly listening to it, listen to it. And also another thing that I did was I completely shut out all my social media. I stopped playing video games on my phone, online, everywhere. I just really kind of like monked myself a little bit in my house and just cut myself off. So I had clear focus. And I've been kind of like that since. Just cut off from the world, not really interested in what's going on out there as much as, I post to Reddit just because I want to share this experience. But so they're all separate yogas, and using them together is like the way the magic happened, like I said.
So just from everything that you're saying, I grew up in the church and everything like that. And I feel like, because I've been to many different like kinds of services. I've been to baptism or Baptist churches. I've been to Lutheran churches, just across the board, like all sorts of different ones. And I feel like in every church and like in every sort of way, they all have like their own kind of technique, but like nothing is technically wrong. So I feel like I am understanding what you're saying, where it's like you find what works for you and you find something that feels right, and then you just kind of keep doing it and you keep practicing it, and then after a while it just becomes like something that's natural. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But with that being said too, and this was a question that I had sent to you, when you tell people this and like once you disclose this sort of information, I feel like there can be some skepticism and maybe some like misunderstanding. How do you feel, or how do you respond to people who might be a skeptic of like the things that you're saying, or if they're just not getting it or have some doubt? Do you have a way to kind of combat that, or do you have a way to like try to bridge that gap?
Yeah, I've thought about it a lot, actually. And my go-to answer is, to a skeptic, if you were to spend the next, 5 or 6 years doing exactly in one form or another, using the yogas, what I did, and then had an experience like I'm about to tell you about in a minute, how would you give proof to another person? You have the exact same experience that I did. How do you give proof of that experience? You can't. You can't. But the proof that I can give is that the things that have happened in my life since, the changes that have happened in myself, in my soul, in my understanding of the universe, it's really changed me. I can articulate exactly what I saw so clearly that it would be hard to make up what I'm saying. And then I had the experience Like, let's say, I think it was the full moon in March 2024 is when it happened. And maybe a week and a half, I saw a different Swami's talks, and he literally exactly described my experience seeing the hands or the feet of God. Literally exactly described it. And I was like, whoa. Because I hadn't told anyone, there was no one to tell.
Yeah.
And just like, I was so surprised to hear it, because I didn't even know this experience existed. I didn't know it was possible. Like, before this all happened, I was just like going along with my meditation. I would have like really amazing days of meditation. Like, I don't know what it is about our planet or our moon or whatever, but some days are more energetic, and you can feel it.
Oh yeah.
And you can feel it, right? So on those days, I would use those days to my advantage. And what I would do is I would meditate, I would chant for longer. I would listen to more spiritual messages, like the more Swami talks. I would listen to 3, 4, 5 hours in one day, because I was injured when I was younger, so I'm kind of handicapped. I fell 2.5 stories and I broke my back when I was 18.
Oh wow.
So I'm handicapped. I can walk, but I can't do a lot. So I'm kind of homeward bound. But it gave me the opportunity. Like, I don't look at any of the things that happened to me bad as a disadvantage. I look at them as the opportunity that led me to be able to do this.
Yeah.
So on those days where I would have the extra energy is where I would put extra time, extra emotion into that. And then one day, on one of those days, the event happened. And it's just like, for skeptics, jumping out of an airplane, the most amazing experience. Like, but to someone like, let's say, that lives in the jungle and in a tribe that's never even, really seen an airplane up close, how do you explain that to them? Like, it's the same kind of concept, like, I've just used a technology that looks amazing from the outside, but it's really something that anyone can do.
I preach on the show a lot is that we've talked about cryptids, and we've had, Bigfoot researchers. We've had people on the show that have had UFO experiences, alien experiences, where it's like, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to tell you that you didn't experience those things. It's, for me, I've never had an experience like that of any sort. I guess that's why I love talking about this stuff and me reaching out to people. So it is just one of those things where it's like, it's so hard to try to imagine, to tell someone what you've seen or what you've heard. Some of our co-hosts on the show have had like paranormal experiences, like with spirits and everything like that. And again, I have never. One of our co-hosts, Clark, he had a mimic in his house, and he kept that to himself. Like, there was times where he would think that his mom was calling to him, and he would respond back, and his mom wasn't even in the house. And it was just very odd things. And he kept it to himself. He never told like any of his family or anything like that until one day I can't remember if he said like he just up and told one of his parents or something like that. But I think it was he saw someone he thought he knew in the house, but they couldn't have been there. And I think one of his family members like came into his room and was like, "Hey, did you see this person?" So like other people were having the exact same experience, and it was finally like one of these like, "Oh, I'm you see it too." So I can only imagine where like when someone else has the same experience and everything, that like it's just that connection and everything. So again, when you're trying to talk to someone who's never had this or like be a skeptic, it's got to be hard. So, but with all of that being said, you had said that you did have this experience. Do you mind talking about like that day, everything that kind of led up to it? Like, what exactly did you see? Like, what was going on? How'd you feel afterwards about like everything that had happened?
Sure. Yeah. So those big days that I was talking about, those days are so important, those energetic days, because what ends up happening is you tap into something, you tap into some bliss. I got that. There's only one description. If you've ever had like the happiest moment of your life where you're just like almost crying because of the joy that you're feeling, that's like bliss.
Yeah.
And first, it happens during meditation, and I can't explain why. I guess you're tapping into I can't explain why, because the universe is made out of three things. It's made out of consciousness, bliss, and existence.
Yeah.
You exist, you're conscious of it, and bliss is like the foundation of that everything's made out of. I can't explain how I know exactly, because it's a feeling. It's something that once you've experienced it, you'll know. But the bliss is the key, right? So over the time of the meditation and doing it over and over and over and over, I kept experiencing the bliss. And then during one of my meditations, the one in March, like it was later after, it was one of those days where everything was just really super energetic, and I'd listened to a lot of spiritual talks, and I did a lot of meditating, and I was feeling a lot of bliss that night. Like it was just really, really strong. It's hard to explain why it happens and how it happens, but it was really strong. Later on, I realized that's the key. So I had spent like 8 hours meditating and listening, and then I came back in the house, and I was like just reflecting on just a really amazing talk that Swami was talking about. He was talking about how the gopis were so deeply in love with Krishna, and it just like really sunk into my heart. And through the realization that I had of how everything was this oneness, like I just realized that God is paying such close attention to everything. She is just in everyone's thoughts. She's in everyone's bodies, every animal, every tree, every blade of grass. She's there. She's in every rock. The whole universe is made out of her. Everything. So, well, like I just realized that through that consciousness experience. Like I was just like, wow. And it just made me fall in love with God in a way that I just never even experienced. It was just like so deep and just so in love. And that's like the kind of like the basis of bhakti. And I didn't even know it was happening to me. Like it was just building up like this giant storm of love that just took me over. And that night I was sitting on the couch, and I was kind of laying back, and I heard this voice very clearly in my head: sit up, sit still like a stone, and let your mind be the same. And like it was just immediate. Like I just did it. Like I sat up, I sat in a meditative position, I put my hands in my lap, and I just let my mind just go blank. And then instantly I was gone from this universe. Like my soul, God grabbed my soul out of my body, took it out of this universe, and set it gently before her in her universe. Like I can explain everything. Just let me get to it.
Yeah.
I know this all sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but it's what I experienced. And so as soon as I got there, like it was like the most beautiful world. I was outdoors. There was grassy hills. There was mountains. It was just like water flowing. It was so beyond like beautiful. Like it was like already overpowering me. Like, and I was just my soul. I didn't have a body, and I was experiencing that I didn't have my body, and it wasn't a dream. I wasn't asleep. I wasn't hallucinating. I was aware. I was awake. I was seeing this for real, like out of my body. And then I noticed there was this massive stone square, like it was 1 trillion times bigger than Mount Everest in the far off distance. Like imagine Mount Everest, imagine it being 1 trillion times bigger than that, a giant square stone. Because I'd never seen this before, it took my soul time to recognize what was happening, because then I saw her feet. Her feet were like olive green, the most beautiful whitish olive green color. She had like a pinkish kind of like soles of her feet and her toenails, and she had these anklets on each foot that had what I could best describe as like a half of a sunflower, maybe 8 or 10 of them going like hanging down in a circle around the anklet. It was like on a chain. And then in the very front was a short chain with like a teardrop blue sapphire hanging on the front of both of her feet. And I was like noticing all of this, and I was just so fascinated by what I was seeing. And as I noticed that, she shifted. Her feet moved, like to look down at me. It was like she was sitting in one position, and then it, like, you know how like you shift to look down?
Yeah.
Like that's exactly what it looked like. And her feet shifted, and like I was just like so in awe. And she said in my head or in my soul, she said, "Feel my bliss." And I did, and it was the most intense bliss without a body. I don't know how I experienced it. It was, I guess, that you can experience that without a body. And I could see without a body, and I was thinking without my body, right? So you're doing all of this with your soul. You're doing all of what you're doing right now. You're not doing it with your body.
Yeah.
You're doing it with your soul. And I experienced that. And so she said, "Feel my bliss." And it was like the most intense bliss in my solar plexus. That's where you feel it. As she said that, I started drawing closer to her and closer. And the closer I got, the more the bliss just started exploding like within me. And I got closer and closer and closer. And the bliss got stronger and stronger. It was like it almost hurt. And then I felt like I was going to explode. And then boom, I was back on the couch. Just like, what just happened? You know, I was still feeling the bliss really strong. You know, in my mind, I was still there, like, wow. But I'm sitting on the couch, you know, like,
yeah.
And then after that, it was like, I didn't even tell my wife what had happened for 3 days. Like, I was just like so overwhelmed by what happened because, you know, when you have an experience, like I relate it to skydiving. I've been skydiving when I was 18 before I injured my back. And skydiving was incredibly amazing. And it's like how you express how incredibly amazing that experience was to someone without, you know, like especially like what happened, like seeing the feet of God, like, and I'm certain it was God and not a demon or some, I mean the God of of all of the multiverse, like, and I'm certain of it because only God can hear your thoughts. Only God can hear your thoughts. She's the only one that's connected to that system as an independent witness. Like we're all independent souls, right? And we can act on our own independent thoughts and ideas. So can she. But she's also able to connect to everything through that one consciousness. She's incredibly, incredibly far beyond anything that we could possibly imagine. You know what I mean? Like she's just like so incredible that there isn't any words to describe her. So she's in there. She's in all of us. And she is the only one that could have possibly heard all of my love, all of the things that I was saying to her, how, you know, I don't even pray anymore. I just tell her how much I love her. I just tell her how grateful I am that she's given me the experience. Like a lot of people pray for, you know, like stuff, you know, God, let me get this new job or this, you know, into this college or this new car or more money, or I don't pray for anything anymore. I just so thankful just to be alive, to have this experience, like, and that's how it's changed me, because it's made me realize that she is in everyone. Let's say two people are fighting and one person is hurting the other person. Well, she's in the person that's doing the hurting, and she's in the person that's getting hurt.
That is very weird to think about. Yeah.
It is. And so every time that I see a person now, every time I think about another person, I just know that God is looking at me through those eyes. God is listening to me right now through your ears. Through this conversation she's having it too. She's listening. And I know she's listening because she took me out. She showed me. And then, okay, so the next day I fell asleep after that. I didn't tell anyone what happened. I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I immediately had to go meditate. Like I just had to go meditate. So I went out to my garage where I had my little altar set up, and I sat down and I started meditating. And after a little while, like what I described to you right now was an experience, right? And it was a total full out of body experience. But the next thing that happened to me was more like a movie screen. Like the best way that I could describe it was like a movie screen. I explained this in the video too, is that I was sitting there meditating, and then I could see her floating, like she was like a shadow. She was floating above the stone. I could see the world. I could see, it was like I was even way further out, like almost in space. And I could see her floating above the stone, and she had this really bright aura. around her. It was like gold, beautiful glowing aura. And she was sitting in like a cross-legged position, and she had her hands on her knees, and her left hand had her pointer finger pointing up, and like maybe 6 inches above that, and to my reference, was a dot of light. And I'm not seeing this. It was like a movie. It was like the clearest movie I've ever seen, like in my own head. Like it wasn't an imagination. I wasn't like, like trying to, think of it again. It just was happening. And she showed me the dot, right? And like she zoomed me in on the dot of light, and I got closer, and the dot of light was in her aura. And as I got closer and closer and closer, I could see that I got up to like a molecular scale, and that dot of light was our universe. And I was surrounded by an infinite amount of universes. Like they were everywhere. I could see the universes. I could see, like, it was like a circle, and inside of that circle was like a universe. It was very clear. I could just see it, like, and she showed me that within her aura is all of creation. That's why all the scientists are having this hard time understanding matter. It's all light. All matter is all light, because we're in her light. Literally, physically, we're in her aura. And she's in this other place, and we're inside of that. We're in her infinite aura in an infinite universe, which is like, if you look at matter, the scientists are never going to find the smallest particle, because the smallest particle is infinite. Like it's infinity with inside infinity with inside infinity with inside infinity. It's incredible. And I saw all that within that one experience, like all of the universes, all of everything, just like boom, with inside of her. It was just so amazing. Like, and she was like showing me, here you are. She pointed to our universe. Like she pointed it out, and she's like, here you are. This is where you are in your universe. And then she like brought me in close, like I could see the light. It was like a star. She brought me in so close that I could see it was all the universes. I was just like so blown away. And then I came out of that, and like that, those are the experiences that I had. And like I say that God talked to me, like, well, she said, feel my bliss, and she told me to sit up and sit like a stone. But she doesn't like talk to me like in my head, like, like people say, oh, I talk to God. And it wasn't like that. It was just like for a brief moment, she said, I got something to show you. And then she showed me, and, like, I can never unlive it. Like my soul is never going to unlive this.
I'm blown away by everything that you've said. And I do have a couple of questions just kind of about everything that you have said. This place that you're describing, do you feel like it is a place where we all get to go to once we pass over to the other side? Like once we die, is it someplace where we all get access to, or is this someplace where it's like
great question?
Yeah.
Okay, so in our universe, there's heavens. In our specific universe, in all universes, there are higher dimensions. So we're in the third dimension, space, matter, time, right? Yep. Third dimension. Yep. So in the higher dimensions, there are what you would consider to be angels or heaven in the higher dimensions. So that's all in this universe. Wherever she is, wherever that was outside of our universes. The multiverse, it was outside of that. So all of the heavens that you could possibly think of, and there is no hell. Let me just put that out there now. There is no hell.
Yeah.
And how I know that is because of a mother so loving that could take care of all of the tiniest creatures, and all of these universes could never create a place to torture them that she created. She would never do it. That's just, I'm going to say that's my opinion, but I saw that. When you die in this world, okay, your body's going to shut off, and you're probably not even going to know it happened. You're probably not going to feel anything that happened. It's just going to be the smoothest transition you ever felt. It's like waking up from a dream, and you're just going to be in your soul body, like I was talking about, and you're going to probably be somewhere in the fourth, fifth sixth dimension, and that's, you know, what people imagine as heaven, and you're just going to go there when you die. But this place that I went to, I think we all have access to. I think it's her choice to give you access to that place, and you get there by crying out to her in love and on a daily basis. Let her hear your soul scream out to her in love and feeling her bliss. That's what I meant by the bliss was the pathway to her, is that constantly feeling that bliss was really the pathway to her. It was just feeling her. That's her, is that immense joy, that immense love, that immense bliss is her. So the more you feel it, the more you're making contact with her in a physical way. And it just happened, and everyone is able to go there. You're going to have to do a little bit of work. You're going to have to start accessing that in yourself. Whatever it takes for you to get there, whatever pathway it takes for you to get there, try to find that pathway and tell God how much you love her. And then also, see, this is where the 4 yogas come in, is becoming one with consciousness. Be like having that experience of consciousness within yourself. Like, it's not like you learn math. I know 1 + 1 = 2 now. I get it. No, it's not like that. It's like you jumped out of an airplane and you had an experience that lasted you for days of I'm one with consciousness. Like, it's like you have this experience. So once you've had that experience, it opens you up to being able to see clearly how God is actually seeing the universe, right? And then once you see that, then it's like a natural progression. I changed from Swami Sarvapriyananda to an even harder name, Swami. I can't remember right now, but he teaches bhakti, and the bhakti, the lessons in that's the love, and that was the part that really, shifted me. That I saw, like, it's that when I saw through consciousness it's all connected, then I would just like fell so deeply in love. Like I said before, that was when it happened. So the 4 yogas is what's going to get anyone that puts the effort into it there. And there's one other thing I wanted to say, is that so when you meditate, when you do the chanting, let's say you do it for an hour, you're sitting there doing like Om Namah Shiva, yeah, right, you just keep saying it over and over. At some point in there, you're going to stop thinking. You're going to stop realizing what's going on around you. You're going to stop feeling your body. You're just going to go into the place that consciousness is. And one of my favorite teachers, Maharishi Mahesh, I've seen a ton of his stuff online. He explains it like this: the dyeing the cloth, the Indian way. Okay, so the Indian way is what you would do is you would take like the ochre, the orange, and you would put your white cloth in the ochre water, and then you would take it out and you would stick it in the sun, and the sun bleaches it, and then you put it back in the bleach days later and you re-dye it, and then you stick it in the sun and you stick it back in the dye, you stick it in the sun, back in the dye, stick it in the sun, and eventually the sun will not bleach out anymore. It will not take the color out of the white cloth anymore. And that's exactly what you're doing during the meditation. You're dipping into that infinite, and slowly over time it's coloring your soul. It's coloring you in a way you can't see. It's coloring in a way you can't feel, that you don't know that's happening to you, but it's doing it. And eventually, over time, I started to feel my soul. Like I noticed it happening, and I feel it right this minute. And ever since it started happening, I at any moment I put my attention there, I can feel it. It's right in your solar plexus. It's right where, if you get punched in the solar plexus and knock the wind out of you.
Yeah.
It's right there. Right there, I feel like a very, very minor bliss. Like if I were to start getting into like a meditative state and thinking of God, that's where the bliss would come from, and it would be very strong. And that's where your soul is located in your body. It's right there. And I know this because I literally saw my grandma's soul come out of her body when she died. Like right there. That's right where it came out of. And I was like, whoa, that was weird, because it went out of her solar plexus into the lights above. We were at the hospital. Everybody was all gathered around. They were all crying. My whole family was crying. And I was holding her hand and I was like, it's okay, Grandma. Everything's going to be fine. And she died. And I watched this bright ball of light come out of her chest, her solar plexus, and go into the lights. And the lights flared up real bright, like a bright flash. And I looked around and I was like, did anyone else see that? And they were all crying in their hands. So nobody saw it. It was just me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I feel like what you're saying with like the whole solar plexus thing too. Like I feel like that is depicted quite often. I feel like in a lot of like when people do talk about the souls and like leaving your body, I do feel like it is something where it is coming from the solar plexus area where like you do see, or like how people depict it is like that is the spot. You never see it like, you know, coming some like the soul leaving from the back or the feet or like from the top of the head. It usually is from that chest level, like from the chest. Do you feel like people are onto something, or like the way that like, or do you think that's just coincidence, or do you think like, okay, somebody knows something too out there and they're getting it right?
Yeah, I do. I think that other people have experienced exactly what I've experienced. Like a lot of out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences, they all kind of like go in the same kind of pathway. It's like right there. The weird part is that I started feeling it at some point, like after I is that it was before I had the experience of consciousness. Like it was maybe like 6 months before that. Like I just started feel like it was weird. Like I'm like, why am I feeling this? Like what's going on? Like at first I was like really confused. Like what's happening to me? You know, like
yeah.
And then over time I've just kind of like grown into the used to it feeling. You know, like I'm just used to it.
Now, okay, please don't take any offense to what I'm about to say.
No,
I just from talking with you for the short period of time that I have, you come off so happy and so like, and again, please don't take any offense to that. That's a good thing. I feel like to like, you know, it's you just the way that you talk about all of this and the way that you're presenting yourself, you just seem so happy and so in tune with, you know, what you believe and everything like that, that I feel like you are making a believer out of me in some sort of way, and you are, maybe some of the audience members too, like you can just hear the passion in your voice and you just seem like you're so upbeat and everything like that. That's so amazing. And it makes me wonder, or maybe you can answer this, is like you had talked about scientists too, like they're not going to get it right. Have you ever offered, or have you ever sat down with a person that, you know, believes in strictly just science and there's a mathematical equation to like figuring out everything? Have you ever sat down with someone of that, or have you ever reached out to, you know, a university or like someplace that would actually like study this and like try to, you know, hook you up to some wires and like you see your brain waves and like try to understand what you're going through?
You know what? I did try, and no one has heard me out. Like I've even I swear to you, I contacted the Dalai Lama's office after a few months after it happened, because like I've just really just been so blown away by what happened to me. Like it's just so hard to explain to people, and then finding out later that I'm not the only human being that's had this experience like this. So like I'm like I was looking for someone to help me explain it to me, you know, like what happened to me.
Yeah.
And so I contacted the Dalai Lama's office, and one of his assistants wrote me back like he doesn't have time for you or your story, basically. So like I've written universities trying to, you know, talk about the consciousness aspect of it, because like I very clearly saw consciousness, and I'd love to have that conversation with a scientist, because I very clearly saw it. Okay, when you believe something, it's a belief, right? That's one thing, but then when you know something, that's totally different. Like believing and knowing are totally different. Like you could believe that you could jump up into the sky and fly, but until you actually do it, you know you can't do it, right? Or you do it and then you know you can.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like I'm not a believer anymore. I'm not a believer in God. I'm not a believer in consciousness. I'm a knower. Like I know because I saw it. I just know. And so that you brought up the point why I'm so happy is because, like, since I know that she's there, I know for a fact because I saw her that when I die, that's where I'm going. Like, I'm going to see her, and all of the struggles that I've been through in this life have been leading me to this.
Hmm.
Like, all of the pain that I'm going through has just been here for me to tell other people that you can do it too, no matter how hard you're struggling. Because let me tell you, in 2019 or 2020, I got COVID, and for 3 days I peed black blood. My right
Oh,
kidney felt
jeez.
like I was having kidney stones, like the size of giant rocks, coming out of me over and over and over. And since then, I have had blood clots coming out of my right kidney that are painful. I urinate very frequently, sometimes as often as every 15 minutes. And it
Yeah.
keeps me awake all night. I don't sleep. This is a lot of information. I'm giving too much information, I know. But what I'm saying is that, like, you might be going through very painful parts of life. And like, I still am right now, but the part that keeps me happy isn't just knowing that, like, what I saw, what I know, like that there's nothing to worry about anymore. There's, like, all of this pain that I'm going through is incidental. Like, you are infinite. You are an infinite being who's going to live for infinity. And this tiny little lifetime that you're having right now, this tiny little blip of pain that you're having right now, or joy, or whatever you're having, it's so small in the sea of infinity that you are. Like, that, it just puts a smile on my face every time I think about it. Like, every time I'm in pain, or so I just look at that and I just laugh. Like, this is so small of a moment in what I am that I just have to laugh at it. It's like, I'm so happy that, God gave me this opportunity to experience this, and that to be able to tell other people about it. I think that's one of the things about me that is maybe good for me to have this experience, is because I'm not afraid for people to look at me and say, hey, you're crazy. I'm okay with that. That's fine. I'm not
No.
asking anyone to believe me about what my experience was. I'm just telling people what happened. I've accurately reported exactly what has happened to me. Accurately. Exactly. And what you want to do with it, it's up to you. If God gets into your heart through what I've said, great. If you totally shut me out, great. Whatever you want to do, it's fine. It's fine.
I think that's a really good attitude, I feel like, to have. I think especially nowadays, it is. I feel like I've seen this. Maybe it's not just nowadays. Maybe this has always been an issue or whatever. But I do feel like there is that. People want that, sense of security, or they want to know that they're not just here for no reason. Like, again, like it really would be crazy if, like, this was it. Like, if there is nothing there after this, like, if it is just blackness and non-existence after this, it is kind of a scary feeling. So
That's disappointing, huh?
yeah, I would hate that. I would really hate if this is it. But it's just one of those things where I feel like, everyone is kind of out there trying to find, like, the whole meaning of life, and, like, what is this all for? And I think a lot of people just kind of strive and want to get to the point that you're at, where it's like, you have, not to say that you don't have any worries, but like exactly what you were saying, like, this life is just, it's in the scheme of, like, time. And even when we talk about, like, science and, like, the actual, like, concept of time and reality of it, like, the earth has been around for, thousands and thousands of years, and
Billions.
yeah, and we don't live that long. We live, if we're lucky, 100 years, and that's it. And it's just one of those things where, our life is so short. And so I feel like the sooner you can find purpose, and the sooner that you can, have that sense of, like, everything is going to be okay. Like, it's, I think people strive for that. I think it's one of those things where it's like, we all hope to get there, but I don't know if a lot of us, get to. I'm not going to say that I am still, like I think that's why I'm so open to talking with everybody is because I have a very open mind with like what is this all for and what is truly fact and fiction.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with Satanists, Christians. I've had all over the board. People that only believe in science, people who only believe in the supernatural. I'm all over the place, and it's just so fascinating to hear all of it. And I hope to one day come to a final conclusion and be content with whatever that is. But I just listening to what you say, it is pretty astonishing, and I'm happy that you got to experience this and everything like that. And again, when we talk about the whole scientists and everything, I'm just so surprised that people aren't willing to even like try to understand or try to like, what if everything that you're saying is the truth? Like, I'm not saying you're lying by any means. I'm not.
Right.
But
No, I feel
like,
the same way. It's like, what if it is the truth? Like, what if everything that I experienced is exactly what is there? Like, and like, because I experienced it and I saw it firsthand, like, I kind of feel like I know that is the truth. But like, how do I explain that to other people? Like, that what is there in reality is different than what people see. Here's the thing. You brought up a really important point, is religion. I am not religious. I do watch what you could call religious information, like Vedanta or Hinduism or Buddhism. There is a lot of religious information in there, but I'm not religious. I'm spiritual, and I was a Christian when I was a kid. Like, my mom put me in Christian school in junior high, so I've read the Bible front to back. Like, I know about the all of that. I've experienced that, thoroughly. And what I've come to realize about religion is a couple things. The first thing is the division. Religions create so much division. They say, my God is the only God. My God is the best God. My God is the only way to God. Like, Jesus is the only way, or Muhammad is the only way. Like, that, I'm sorry to say, is not the truth. The truth is that the way to God is through within. It's not through a book. It's through finding the bliss within yourself, which is God. That's God, the bliss. So recognizing it within yourself and going out of your way to experience that within yourself is really the pathway to her, and falling in love with her. And so religions don't teach that. There is no chapter or verse in any of the scriptures of the text that say, okay, so you need to sit down, meditate, you need to practice, a mantra for a little while, and then fall in love with God, and here's the process. It's simple, just do this. And it's not in any of those scriptures, and it's been intentionally left out. Jesus's message, Muhammad's message, Jesus wasn't a Christian, Muhammad wasn't a Muslim, Buddhist wasn't a Buddhist. They were trying to explain what I'm trying to explain right now, is that consciousness we're all this one consciousness, and that you can access it for yourself, and that because of the systems that they've put into place, the monetary systems and the education systems and the religions, like, they are blocking people. They don't want people to be able to do what I did. Like, this is a very controversial conversation that we're having right now, and a lot of people are probably going to be really upset with what I'm saying, but I mean it from a place of love, that I want people to experience exactly what I experienced and have that close connection with Source, see her feet, see her hands. But here's the thing, is that you won't find that in a religion. Like, you won't find the pathway that I took in a religion, in any religion. So you have to kind of like find that within. You have to like look for those cues, follow your soul, like I said, find the one that works for you, and that it's not only dividing people, it's not giving you the pathway. So like, I just feel like that, it's a good start. It's because it gets you involved in wanting to find God, but then it also divides people, and I think that people need to they need, especially in this time right now, there's so much division with, politics and all of the crazy stuff that's going on in the world. This is the message that needs to get out, is that we're all one. We're all this one being that needs to love each other, and God can hear everything you're thinking about the other person. All those evil thoughts that people are having about each other, God can hear that. And it's time for us to just start being, together as one, friends, loved ones, and
Yeah.
it's hard to do nowadays.
Yeah, I will 100% agree with you on it. It is tough to try to love everybody, but I would 100% agree with you that that is what I think we all need, not just like as a nation, but like as like the entire human race. I wish we could all. I wish there was no, there was no wars, there was no crime, there was none of this bad stuff. I wish we could all, get along in a way that we could.
Yeah, drop the borders.
Yeah.
Drop the religions, take up spirituality, take up love with each other. And I think it can happen. I think this can happen here. And I think people are starting to get to a point where they're so sick of everything that's going on, all the hatred and all the disgusting behavior. Oh God, people are so disgusted with what's going on. Like as a father, like that's another thing, is like like I said before, I'm not a monk. I'm not a perfect person. I'm a dad. I make mistakes. And as a father, I could see, like this world has really turned into a disgusting place, all this stuff that's going on. And it just makes me so sad that how all these innocent kids could just be treated so awfully. And like this is a time that we need to stop this.
Yeah.
Like as a humanity, it's time to just say, hey, this is enough. Let's do something about this.
I truly feel like we are at the breaking point. I do feel like something, maybe something is going to be happening soon, as far as like you said, like something needs to change. I feel like change is coming soon, maybe not soon enough. I don't know what that change will be, but I feel like a certain veil has been, dropped, and I feel like just people are starting to wake up more. And I don't know. I'm hoping you're right, where it is something where we can just, finally move on and just, start just loving everybody. It's a good message, and I hope one day that we can, as just a human race, we can get there. I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetime. I hope it does. That would be amazing. But before we sign off, there's one last question I want to ask you is, what do you hope people take away from hearing your experience and this episode and everything that you've been saying?
That really is the message right there. That's it. And what that message is that from my experience, like I said, I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a monk. This is possible for everybody. What I went through, it really only takes a little bit of work, a little bit of understanding, and just laser focus and stick to it. Stick to it. Even the times where you're not feeling it, the times that you're feeling like crap, the times where something's going on in your life and it's just not good, or you're not feeling any kind of, advancement or gain in the moment. Just keep going. Just keep going and going and going, and don't lose sight of the fact. See, this is the thing that was really important to me, was that I never wanted to quit. I heard, enlightenment was possible for humans, and I was like, I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to do everything that I can to figure that out, and I'm not going to stop until I get it. And like halfway through that, I got bit by a rattlesnake, a Southern Pacific rattlesnake. Within 15 minutes, I was 100% paralyzed. And then
gosh.
I lived about about 20 miles out of town. I meant to say an hour out of town.
Yeah.
So by the time the paramedics got to my house, I was totally paralyzed. And then, but I was already meditating like for years at that time. So I was really calm about it. Like I just was relaxed. So 5 firemen put me in the the ambulance and they took me to the hospital, and when they got me there they told the doctor that I was on drugs or something, so the doctor just left me there on the bed to die for 6 hours, bit by a very dangerous rattlesnake, not just like the kind that eats your hand off, the kind that kills you because it stops your body. But when that happened, I was so upset with God at that moment because God was taking away my opportunity right there. Like I felt like I was on to something, that I had the motivation, that I wasn't going to quit, that I was going to do it. And then I'm bit by a rattlesnake and I'm going to die. And I was just like,
my gosh,
dirty, I was like, dirty. Why would you do that? And then after 6 hours, the nurse came over to me and was like, I could whisper, and I said, if you don't do something right now, I'm going to die. And she looked at my arm and it was all swollen up, and she goes, doctor, he can't fake this. And the doctor came over and saw it. It was huge. And he's like, oh my God. He, panicked, get this guy some anti-venom. And then so they saved my life, right? But that's it, is that you can do it. Just stick to it.
Yeah, and Dan, I want to say like that, like everything that you're saying, I think you hit the nail right on the head, and I think all of our audience members are going to really, take that to heart. And I just want to thank you again so much for coming onto the show. It was really awesome to hear like everything that you had said in your experiences. We talked about a lot of different stuff today. I know I think we barely scratched the surface. And even before the show, I had talked about like you probably coming on for a part 2. I don't think there's an option. I think you have to now.
Okay.
I think there's so much more that you have to say, and I think there's a lot more that we can talk about. So if you're willing to come on for another episode, I would love to have you on again.
Absolutely, anytime. I'm flexible, so you tell me when, and we'll do it.
Awesome. Great. I will definitely, we'll talk after the show and try to hone down a specific time and everything like that. But for you, the audience members, again, before we sign off, Dan, do you have any last things that you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me on. I really appreciate getting to share this with other people, because I really want other people to know that God is out there. She loves you. She cares about you. Every struggle that you're going through is forging you into a diamond. That's what it takes. Pressure and heat. That's what it takes. And so everything that you're going through is there for a reason. And don't take that as a negative. Take it as your learning experience, and love each other. I love you guys. I love that you're doing this, and thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dan. The audience members, you know where to find all of this stuff. We are going to have Dan's YouTube channel, his Facebook link and everything. So if you do want to go check that out, learn a little bit more, see what all of this is about, maybe get some more information, things that we didn't cover on this episode, go ahead and check that out. But just remember the old saying that we have here: we don't want stuff that's normal. We want stuff that's effing weird.